You're welcome back. Now, it can feel like something you'll never have to worry about, but leaving an inheritance to a loved one could end up leaving them in big trouble with the taxman.
Here to tell us how to avoid such a scenario and with advice on how to avoid big tax bills on large gifts is financial advisor Paul Merriman of askpaul.ie. Good morning, Paul.
Hi, Paul.
Good morning.
This is a slight minefield, isn't it, in terms of...
It is a bit of a minefield.
Well, in terms of we don't really have all the information.
Yeah.
Well, Paul does.
Paul does. That's why he's
That's what I'm
here.
here for.
So talk us through inheritance tax and levels and what we need to look out for.
I suppose basically the main point you get across that inheritance tax is not really just tax for the rich. There's an awful lot of people out there saying it's tax rich, but it's not. If you look at an average kind of family home in Dublin and the exemptions, so there's a number of different exemptions, whether you're a child getting inheritance tax, a grandchild, a brother or sister needs. We'll go through them in a second. So in the case of a child can inherit 310,000 from mum or dad over the lifetime. That includes any gifts that you might got for a deposit for a house 10, 15 years ago as well. So 310 is the limit. So if you have a family home and you have one child, say, and that family home goes to that child, you've only got 310 to work with. That means 190,000 is chargeable at 33%. That's 62,000 worth of tax to be paid.
So hold on, how much is the house?
So let's say the house is 500,000.
So taking a house at $500,000.
Half a million house, yeah, and one child. So you have an exemption of up to 300, threshold of up to 310,000.
So 190 grand is taxed.
190,000 is left over, and that's taxed about 33%, so 62k.
And is there a sliding scale?
No, there's not a sliding scale. So anything over the 310.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's quite severe.
So there are, well, we don't want to tell people how to not pay tax, but to be a little bit more clever, savvy about it.
You can be very savvy about this. There's actually an insurance policy that most people don't know. You can actually insure your inheritance tax liability, basically. So in that example that we said that the child's going to have a 62,000 liability to revenue, mum and dad, or mum or dad, one or the other or both, could take out a life insurance policy. It's called a Section 72 whole of life insurance policy. And on death, the life policy would be, say, 62,000, whatever the liability is. On death, the life company pays that money and it goes to revenue. It doesn't form part of the estate. So the 500,000 house doesn't become 560, the inheritance. So it's a 62,000 goes straight to revenue to pay the bill. And that's a really, really good way to protect your estate. It's the most
very
practical.
clever that the fact that it doesn't become part of your estate.
Exactly.
It goes straight to revenue.
It goes straight. And don't forget, if you're lucky, obviously you're lucky to be dying prematurely, but if you've only got the life policy out a couple of years or 5 years and you've only paid maybe 5 or 6 grand in premium, you've got 62,000 to pay.
So can you take this policy out, the insurance policy, at any time?
You can take it at any time. What I say to anybody watching the show this morning is you don't actually have to have an inheritance tax liability to take the policy out. I know it sounds a bit weird, but if somebody is just starting off life, they've got a small child and they don't think they haven't got anything, in 30 years you will have assets. So set up your life insurance policy to make sure there's a Section 72 life policy. You're future-proof in your estate.
Could people have life insurance policies or assurance policies that this is built into and they may not realise, or is this an extra?
Not really. This is something you need to set up in place with an advisor, yeah. So, look, as I always say to them on the show, I'd recommend everybody to take 30 minutes out, sit down and plan this and think, actually, what have we got? What's the pension? What's the house worth? What I think it's going to be worth in the future? Because it's really the ugliest type of tax. I hate this tax. I don't like any tax. But I really hate this one. It's really like tax from the grave. You know, it's after paying. If you think about it, if a couple goes through life and they paid a higher rate of income tax, they've paid 50-odd% marginal rate tax all the way through life. And then the assets they build up with their after-tax income is then taxed by revenue at the end. And it's just...
And you know, when you think about people at that stage of their life, it's very important for so many people to not sell the family home so they can pass it on to the children.
Yes, it is, yeah. And don't forget, like a few years ago, this was quite difficult because we hadn't got a very buoyant property market. So what I mean by that is that if we had to sell the family home to pay revenue, and it was 3 or 4 years ago, and there was no market, you're selling with real discounts on the family home. It's a horrible situation to be in.
And is this an insurance policy that's available across the board in terms of the insurers?
Yeah, it is. There's 3 companies that provide it. So there's Zurich, Irish Life and Royal London that provide the cover. I particularly like the Royal London product. The reason I like their product is that they've got a really good built-in feature which gives the client back up to 70% of their premium if they've paid it for 15 years. Now, why is that important? Let's take it that mum and dad actually live to be a good old age and they spend all the money and they're not given any inheritance or they don't fall within the thresholds. Well, Royal London will actually let the client cash in their chips after 15 years and get 70% of their premium back. So someone takes a plan out at, say, 55.
Very
at
good.
70, if there's nothing kind of to give to the kids or there's a really small estate by then, they can get 70% of their money back. So I really like that one because it's really, really good for people.
OK. And is the cost of the insurance policy linked to the cost of your assets?
It's whatever your inheritance tax bill is. So it's like you're just insuring yourself for whatever you think that bill is going to be.
So it's a percentage.
Yeah. So to give you an example, 60-year-old non-smoker, for that 62,000 is about 150 a month, 1,800 a year. It might sound like a lot, but if you've got maybe $500,000 worth of assets, there's a small proportion of your assets to make sure you're protecting revenue, taking a big chunk of your assets when you die.
Certainly worth so.
It just seems, as you say, it seems such an unfair tax, doesn't it?
It's so unfair.
You spend your life earning the money to accumulate those assets, and you've paid tax on all the money you've been earning up to that.
Yeah.
And when you go, they tax that.
Yeah, and actually last week I was speaking at the RDS and two women came up to me in their 60s. And it was really, really, really terrible story. Their brother had died suddenly in Canada and he'd left inheritance to them. He had 140 grand to pay to revenue they didn't know about. So these just two ladies with their own families, just not along. Unfortunately, their brother died out of country, and that was sent. He's no family in Canada.
And his debts are passed on to...
No, his estate. Sorry, when he died, his estate was passed on, so his assets were passed on to them.
Okay.
And he had 140,000 to pay to revenue. And they didn't know anything about it. And that's what I think is the killer when you're inheriting this money. And one of the ladies actually had a daughter that was struggling financially as well. That 140,000 is going to be so way better off spent, you know?
Of course, yeah.
I just think it's, like I said, I just think it's horrible tax. So I want to raise awareness for people to know you can insure against it, first of all, but also to have a chat and have a think about it around the family.
Well, when you say just take half an hour out, it's just...
Yeah, I know.
It just screams how simple and how important that chat is.
Yeah, it is. Everything about financial planning is really simple. I know it sounds a bit corny, but it really is, just to give yourself time. It's all logical as well.
Yeah.
What is there must be a myriad of other stuff out there that we're not aware of.
Well, there's gift tax as well. Will you talk to us about this?
Yeah, so you can... Sorry, the gift tax is actually quite good. So you can gift anyone 3,000 or so. If you want to give me 3,000 part of the day,
no
I'm
problem.
good.
I'll just go over to the drawer.
He's very kind like that.
You can do that. But ultimately that means is a parent can gift their child 3,000 tax-free. So if you do that, if you have a big estate, you can do that over and over again for 20-odd years.
Per child?
Per child, yeah. So that's quite good.
OK, and can both parents give that amount?
Yes, they can, yeah. So if you're cash rich, the example we get very wrong is just a family home, but if you have a family that is quite asset rich and cash rich, they can start disposing of those assets before death by giving 3,000 out to grandkids, nieces, nephews, everybody to bring that tax liability.
Paul, we put all those details up on our social media stuff. Where can people get in touch
as always, askpaul.ie or on Facebook, Ask Paul.
Brilliant.
Great. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Paul. Now, still to come, Strictly stars Christina Ryanhoff and our own Tristan McManus.
And we have the best on the box this week, including the new comedy from Sharon Horgan and Graham Linehan. See you soon.